Good morning, everybody. Welcome to Wednesday Wellness. I'm Marisa Maggio Harrelson. Nice to see you. Of course, you all know that. But here's Stephen Connor. I have Stephen Eric Connor here with me, who is a personality intelligence coach. He is going to talk to us today about, better communication. It's so important. When you think about not even just what's going on in the world, but everyday life, personally, professionally, in your home, people are working in their home space now, commingling even more on, having respect. I was actually, my husband just said, could you turn the blow dryer off? Because I have to speak on this Zoom call and his office is in our room right now. Not for long, but you know what I'm saying? And got it. I got it because I know who he is. And I had to stop that. So I did. And anyway, so Steven's here. I have had the privilege and joy to get to know this man, and he has actually inspired many of us on in my business in helping people communicate better and finding out the type of person. I think so many people, well, Stephen, we'll talk about that. I'm going to let you start talking, but I have a question because I think people have a
Right.
predetermined way of communicating with people,
Yes.
and when they communicate, it's not jiving with that person. And so we can talk more about that. This is going to be a fun segment, you guys. So I hope you like this. If you're on the replay, say replay. If you're listening, be interactive and hit the stars and the light and, the hearts and all of that stuff. So, Stephen, thank you so much.
And well, I'm honored to be here as well. This is going to be fun. One of the things that I think is so important about life in general is everything that we do revolves and evolves around communication.
Yes.
Whether we're communicating well, whether we're miscommunicating, whatever it is, if nobody at all communicated today in the world, nothing would happen until we start communicating in some, whether it's media or advertising or talking with our kids, talking with your significant other, whatever it is, it's all communication. And so a little bit about how I got to this piece that I'm working on is that why this was significant for me is I was one of the most introverted people you'd have probably ever met when I was about 20. I'm 62 now, but when I look at where I was at 20, if you would have walked down the sidewalk and I passed you and you would have said hello, you would have kind of freaked me out because I would have wondered what do you want? And I was really, I thought I was shy, but it was deeper than that. And so I got a one-way ticket to Southern California, and I thought I'm going to go discover me. So I studied psychology in college. I studied philosophy. I've studied Myers-Briggs. I studied the DISC assessment, emotional intelligence. I went to workshops when I hit California. I hit the ground running, and I looked at everything I can get my hands on what makes people work. How does that work? Because there's so much of it that's fragmented. So I'll fast forward to not take up our whole time telling the whole story. But when I was at 40 years old, I was a divisional vice president with a national sales company. I'd been with for 18 years. And I was supposed to be doing some training in San Diego. So I flew over to train these new managers, and I was told I wasn't going to train because we brought another speaker in, or the corporation brought another speaker in to talk about the Enneagram.
Mm.
Now, I was like, you could have heard a pin drop. The Ennea what? Nobody even knew what the heck it was or how to spell it. And I said, what is it? And they said it's about personal development, human development. Well, I was all about that part because I thought if we can get to know who we are on the inside of our skin, how we process thoughts, how we process emotions, how we show up in life. Not when you walk in a door, you physically show up, but you also show up mentally, emotionally, spiritually. All of that shows up with you. Are you aware of what that's doing on your behalf, or is it working against you? And so when I walked out of this event, it was a 2-day workshop at age 40, and I was at the pinnacle of my career at the time. And it was like somebody said, Stephen, I'd like to introduce you to you. And Oprah calls that an aha moment. I was blown away by it. And I thought, this can't be that good. So at that time, you take this to the business side, is I was one of the divisional vice president to help develop this company into 130 offices nationally with over 60,000 business clients. And there were 7 vice presidents. And so when I looked at what this was, out of those 130 offices, my Phoenix office was number 3 in the company. And so I had a pretty amazing team. So I thought, if this guy's that good, I'm going to bring him out into Phoenix and I'm going to have him do the same workshop and see what happens. And literally within the next 90 days after he left, people were doubling their sales, doubling their revenue. And I thought, okay, wait a minute. I took a closer look at it. Shortly thereafter, I gave a notice. And when you gave a notice to this company, you just completely walked away from all your residuals and income. And I hired this guy to coach me. And so what I came up with was why the Enneagram is it. Let me ask this question here first. And I wrote it down so I can make sure I stay on point with it. Would you all agree that miscommunication can lead to misunderstanding, whether it's personal or professional?
Yeah, absolutely.
Whether we're talking with our colleague, we're talking to our significant other, talking to our children, doing a presentation, miscommunication cost people money and relationships. And so I thought, man, if I could get better at that piece in my life, wow. So I wrote down here also communication. My 2 favorite words are clarity and intention.
Mhm.
The more clearly I see things and understanding my intention, I'm able to see more about how I show up at a place. And so when I look at this clarity and intention, because we all process things based on our personality. So I want to tell you about the Enneagram. When I looked at it, I'm in the middle of on chapter 6 or 7, I forget. I'm writing the workbook I created 20 years ago. I'm now writing into a book. And so everything that you can find in the research I've done, philosophy is older than any of Myers-Briggs and DISC and behavioral assessments and psychology. But the philosophy goes back about 400 years BC,
Wow.
before Christ. If you look at the Enneagram, that goes back 2,500 years BC. So right now we're at year 2021. This information that I've got my hands on is over 4,000 years old, and it's still here. Why is that? See, what we've learned even as growing up, everything that we do is behavioral driven. If you were like, for example, when Marisa was a young girl, you were either a good girl or a bad girl. When you're school, you got either a good grade or a bad grade.
I was an
When you
imp.
get that's right. But when you get your first job, did you get a good review or a bad review? But does anybody take the time to say and point to our heart and say, would you like to know who lives in here and who you are?
Absolutely.
See, we're human beings, not human doings, but we live our life as a human doing. We go to networking events, we go to business functions, say, hi, my name is Stephen. What do you do?
Mm-hmm. Now, who am I? You know?
Yeah, a better question is, hi, my name is Stephen. Tell me a little bit about you. Oh, wow. What a different question.
Yeah.
Now you're connecting with the person rather than the title.
Yeah. And if you
Because
ask
when you,
that question somewhere, that's going to be amazing. Someone's going to go, what? They're going to totally lean into you and they're going to go, who is this
yes.
person? Should we show the Enneagram chart?
Yes, and in fact, I want to say also what if there a way, before you show the chart, let me ask this question. I want everybody to think about this question. What if there was a way to clearly be able to see yourself with absolute clarity, and not only that, be able to then turn that lens and recognize other people? The Enneagram has 9 personalities. And when you show this chart, the important thing is, I think everyone on this call would agree, is
You're gonna
that
keep everything messy.
that's all right. Show it all. But what
Oh
happens
my
is
goodness. It went away. So let me figure this out. Oh my goodness. Okay. I'm going to stop
that's all
there
right.
for a moment and we'll
But
figure
just
it
go
out.
ahead and do your thing there. So when you look at the 9 personalities, everybody we know has a personality. Everybody. The key is their personality working for them or is it working against them? And how we are able to look at that, and I'll give you an example of what like a signature system I created in the process of learning this, is that I look at you can call it healthy or unhealthy. I like to refer it as to consciousness or being unconscious. am I consciously aware of my personality, or am I unconsciously just letting my personality be who it is? And so when I look at these 9 personality types, there's a system that is easy to learn to help this make more sense. So
Here
the
we go.
system I created when I was coaching years ago, I started coaching with this years ago, is called the 3 levels of awareness. The 3 levels of awareness. Level 1 is I put my hand on my chest and say, who am I for real? Not who do I hope Marisa thinks I am, or somebody listening to this presentation, or no, but who I live in here. I show up mentally. Somebody thinks on my behalf. Somebody feels on my behalf. Somebody, shows up physically on my behalf. Who is that? That's level 1. We got to get clear with that. I said in a workshop years ago, I said, a lot of times you don't meet people, you meet their agent. I go to a networking function. Did I really meet the person, or I meet the, hi, my name is Stephen Connor. Nice to meet you. I'm an international life coach. That's my agent representing me at the time. Or do I introduce me as me? I can tell you what I do, but I can tell you also who I am. Be able to do both. So level 1 is who am I? Level 2 is who are you? Here's the key to that though. Without my opinion, without any bias, and without any judgment. You just get to be you in my eyes. Isn't that liberating when people can really feel like they can walk into a room and be present without anybody judging them? They just get to show up as they show up. Wow. Level 3 is how do we connect? If we don't connect, we're not communicating, we're just passing each other as we walk by, either
And there's
physically
so much of
or
that.
a lot of that. When we pass each other, it's kind of like taking turns talking. Here's what I want to share. Oh my God, let me share with you my story. Oh my God, tell me. And so there's no connection. They're just sharing stories. So think about the connection. I like this analogy. A lot of us have seen the little round choo-choo train, an electric train where you got the engine and a couple boxcars and a caboose. Well, if you have the engine connected to the boxcars, but not connected to the caboose, when you drive around that little circle, you basically, when you get back around to coming up behind the caboose, you can't go any further. You've created your own traffic jam by not making the connection. But
And
if you connect with that,
I remember that even as a kid. I'm like, wow,
yeah,
how can
yeah.
that
But
always
if you
happen?
connect with the caboose, you can ride around in circles all day long.
Right.
So if you don't connect, you're going to have your own traffic jam. So Marisa put this diagram up here so I can tell you a little bit about this. I'm just going to give you kind of the overview of the personalities.
And guess who I am?
Marisa is a type 7, which is the enthusiast, the adventurer, the brainstormer. Yeah, I tell you, I have a friend of mine years ago I sat down with, I said, I need to come up with some new ideas on things. And I thought, who do I know that's a type 7? And I said, and I was thinking about that personality. So I called a friend of mine and we sat down and had coffee for about 45 minutes. And I'm not kidding you, I took 2 pages of notes. And what about this? I was like going nuts. It just came off the type 7 like it was nothing. Now, here's the thing though, and I'm going to come back around and start with the 1. But the 7 has a lot of ideas. They have so many ideas, they don't really have time to sit there and help you make all yours now come true. They gave you the ideas, you go do it because somebody else needs my ideas too. And they go run to the next person. And that's not a bad thing if we're consciously aware that that's what we're doing.
Right.
The key is consciousness. So let me go back to the type 1. The perfectionist, it says on here on the screen, perfectionist, the reformer, the judge, the critic. The type 1 is motivated by doing the right thing. Motivated by doing the right thing. So you just leave that cursor. My eyes are running all over the place. Just leave that baby still.
Okay.
Yeah. Yeah. Is that so? If you look at the type 1, if I'm working, let's say somebody that's a type 1 personality. If they're motivated by doing the right thing, the absolute worst for them is to make them wrong. See, so let's say I have a one personality I'm speaking with, and they're saying, "Oh my gosh, Stephen, this is the perfect way to do this." They'll use their own buzzwords. I've given this some thought. It's an alignment. It's right on. And if I don't think that it is, or if I disagree, what if I responded this way and said, that's kind of ridiculous. That's not going to work. That would be a complete disconnect
Mhm.
because I made them wrong. I want to stay connected so we can continue the conversation. So I would respond differently by saying this. I'd say, I love your idea, but let me ask you this though. Have you ever considered kind of looking at it like this? See, I gave them another way of looking at it without shooting their way down. So now I'm still connected with the one. I didn't make them wrong. That's their work. That's their pain point. And then when they get wrong, it almost feels righteous because they should be perfect. And see the word underneath there it says anger. So that creates some anger. It's like now they're mad at themselves because they didn't get it right. How can you be connected with somebody that's suddenly now mad at themselves? Simply by the way we communicated with them. The type 2 is the helper, the connector, the manipulator, the nurturer. And I'm a type 2. And when I saw the word manipulator, I was like, no, I don't want to be that.
Right.
Right. But the key is consciousness. So I'll go back to the type 1. If when I was younger, I heard people say, oh my God, the person's really anal. They're so perfect.
Yeah.
Right. Well, what it was, and that person would say, no, I'm not. They would almost like deny their own personality rather than saying, well, you could say it anal. I'd like to think that I'm just structured. Thank you. Because that's what a 1 is. They're structured. Industries that would be a type 1, accountants. At the end of the day, it's got to be perfect. It's got to have the right amount of on this side as it does on this side to balance.
That was my dad.
Type 1 personality. you don't want an accountant that's going to get it wrong.
No, you don't.
So they fit well there. The helper, when the helper is, I'll call conscious, they help with no strings attached. I will help you. I don't need recognition for it. I don't need anything in return. I'm glad to be of service. Oprah Winfrey is a poster child for that. Oprah does not need anybody's money. She's just helping people. She's a helper. But see the word where it says in the helpers connect people. But when you see the word where it says manipulator, and hold on while I take a sip of my Axio.
The brain drink. Good for you.
There we go. That's why
I
I'm so
had
sharp
mine
in this
too this
afternoon.
morning. Get those
Okay, so
neurotransmitters.
look at that. So look at where the unconscious helper becomes a manipulator. The unconscious helper might say something to Marisa like, well, gosh, Marisa, I helped you. I mean, gosh, what about me? See, the unconscious person that's a helper will help you because they're looking for something in return.
Mm.
And all of a sudden they wonder why people are kind of pushing them back a little bit. Well, it's because they're manipulating. When I first heard the word manipulation, though, manipulation, if you look it up, simply means to move things around. Has anybody other than myself listening to this presentation ever been adjusted by a chiropractor?
Yep.
Well, they do spinal manipulation. I've never seen a patient run out of their office, running into the parking lot, screaming, my chiropractor just manipulated me. They just did, didn't they? They moved you around. That's all that means, is to move things around.
I love
The
it.
type 3 is the achiever. The achiever not only wants to win, they're the performer, the status. They want to look good. I would say probably the first person I think is an achiever that everybody knows is Muhammad Ali. Back in the day, he would do a rhyme on what round he was going to knock you out. He would then knock you out in that round. And then he'd be interviewed and say, he didn't touch me. I'm pretty. I'm the greatest.
He
Did
is
he look
amazing.
did he look good and did he achieve?
I have to show you something that's on my office desk.
There you go. There's a chant. Now, here's where I want you to see when the personality gets bigger than the person is when we fall.
That's
Ali
ego.
was so Well, it's deeper than that. I think it's in personality. It's in the DNA.
Mm.
Is that if you look at Ali as the greatest, we all thought when he was older, hey, champ, you have nothing else to prove, nothing else to achieve. You're getting too old to go back in the ring. And we then saw him get beat up pretty good. Not the champ, though. But see, the achiever has to win. But that's when they're not aware of their personality. When they're aware of their personality, they can turn the page and find other ways to keep achieving without having to prove that I'm still the greatest. So I can still achieve, I just have to achieve in a different way. So look at the number 4. The 4 is the artist, the romantic, the individualist. The 4 is about feeling. They can be dramatic. They're artists. They're Picasso, Beethoven, Michael Jackson, Barbara Streisand. Johnny Depp. Johnny Depp doesn't play a role. He becomes the character because he feels it. So let's say if you're working with somebody or you have somebody in your family that's a type 4, they might get a little dramatic at times and go, oh my God, you're never going to believe this. The worst thing you can do is tell them to lighten up. Oh my God, you just popped their balloon. Give me a quick example. I shared this with Marisa in a different setting. I had 2 friends I was having lunch with. I'm sitting there with one of them waiting for the third guy to show up. Well, the third guy is a type 4. He walks in the door and this is, I'm a type 2. He's a type 4 going, oh my God, you're never going to believe what happened to me today. And the other buddy I was sitting with said, dude, lighten up and sit down. We're at a restaurant. You would have thought that they were looking at each other with daggers. I mean, there was no connection at all. My response, though I have no idea what he was talking about, all I said, not my personality, I matched his. I said, oh my God, man, what's going on? And his reply was, see, I knew you would get it. I have no idea what he's talking about. I just matched his personality so that I didn't discard it. The feelers want you to feel what they're feeling. Then it validates that they're not so, abstract and unique. Picasso was an amazing artist, but he did art. You felt what he's like, what's he doing here? And that's twisted this way. But he drew you in. Now think about the type 5. The 5 is the thinker, the observer, the investigator. They need time to process their thoughts. I had a sales manager that I was leading, and he was a type 3 achiever. And he had a type 5 sales agent on his team. And he kept saying, come on, man, get it done. Come on, we can achieve this, get it done. It stressed the type 5 thinker out so much, they almost were like a deer in headlights in their sales production. See, the achiever manager was speaking their language, but they weren't speaking the agent type 5's language. So it's almost like if one of them spoke Japanese and the other one is speaking English, they don't know what each other's saying. See, the type 5, they need time to process their thoughts. They're the thinker. They need, and if you call a meeting and you've got a type 5, they're hoping you have an agenda so that they can get prepared for the meeting and process everything necessary. So the 5, Einstein, Bill Gates, Thomas Edison, they needed time to process their thoughts. So if I'm working with a type 5, I don't care if I think I'm the greatest salesperson in the world or the best presenter in the world and the most enthusiastic person ever. I'm not going to try to close them on anything right out of the gate. That would be silly. The thing is, when we try to close other people or try to get other people to be persuaded or influenced, it's like we're reaching out and trying to grab them, influence them by drawing them in. So the type 5, I'd say, if Marisa was a type 5, I'd say, I shared a lot of information with you today. And I know that you like to process that. So I don't want you to have to feel like there's any, time restraints on you on making sure that you completely understand it. But I'd love to talk with you again once you've had a chance to process it to get more clarity. How's that sound?
Sounds
perfect. They get to go back to the laboratory, right? And they get to sit down and process the information. That's their language. All 9 of these personalities communicates in a very distinctive language. If I'm a helper and I have only my language that I'm communicating with other helpers, I'm alienating, the other 8 because I'm not speaking their language at all. Again, it's the 3 levels of awareness. Who am I? Who are you? How do we connect? The type 6 is the loyalist. They can be somewhat of a skeptic. They question things. They're the questioner. I have a friend of mine that's a type 6. And I came up with a new idea that I was going to put in some training years ago. And I thought, you know what, I'm going to sit down with this guy and I'm going to share it with him, because if there's anything wrong, they're like a security system. They'll see it. What about this? Because they're motivated by security. For example, I have a friend of mine that is a lady that we were sitting down talking, and I saw her getting anxious in the conversation. We're having coffee, and all of a sudden she's ramping up in anxiety as a type 6. All I asked her was, what would make this safer for you right now? And she went, see, I said words that would keep that connection and soothe it by speaking the language, rather than me saying, my God, why are you getting so anxious? Settle down. Come on. You're okay. That's me cheerleading somebody without the way that I might process anxiety rather than how they might process it. You see what I'm saying? So you want to speak their language. And the type 6 is so amazing. They want to almost like they're incredible as a leader, but they're even better as a second in command, but they don't want you to look at them as somebody beneath you. They want to feel equal, but they're okay if you lead. But don't make them not feel equal. So, give an example. I was doing a presentation with the city of Phoenix years ago, and I was doing it with a colleague that's a type 6. Excuse me. And I knew they weren't going to want to get in front of the audience and make this presentation, and I was comfortable with that. But I also knew if I jumped up there and jumped right into the content without acknowledging them, wow, that was going to be a painful conversation afterwards. So I got up on stage. I said, before I get started on what I'm here to share with you today, I got to tell you that this could not have been made possible without my colleague back there in the back, and as we collaborated on making this special. And I'm trying to give her some kudos, and she's going, no, I'm almost like this, but in reality, it was like, yeah, oh my God, yes, we did this together. She was not my understudy; she was my equal in that presentation, even though I got up and presented it. The type 7, the enthusiast, the adventurer, the enthusiast, they see all the possibilities. They get completely excited. If a type 7 could go on a hike and find an amazing, unique rock and make a story out of it, that everybody this thing would be like the most amazing, one of a kind rock you'd ever seen in your whole life. You're never going to believe it. I almost stepped on it. They can get excited about that and get you pumped up. They're naturally, go ahead, girl. They're naturally wired like that, aren't they?
Yeah, I found a heart rock, a rock that looked like, of course, and I've found shells on the beach that look like hearts, and I get really excited about it.
See there, I didn't even know that, but I knew that. So now the 7, though, here's how I want to stay connected with them. They love high energy people. They measure themselves relative to the people that they associate with. If those people were low energy and pulling them down, the 7's got to get out of here. They like being around people that are exciting.
Mm-hmm.
And so and they also want to avoid pain. So if something's painful, like for example, I had a type 7 on my sales team, and I took them cold calling, and they were like almost broke into a sweat. They'd never cold called before. I said, but this is the thing about the pain. If we look at fear, because there was a thought of fear to cold call. I heard an acronym based on fear. We've heard the old one about false evidence appearing real. I heard a better one that said face everything and rise.
I love
FEAL.
that. Ooh, fear,
And
face
so
everything and rise.
everything. So we went into this door and instead of looking at it as painful, these people have no idea your level of enthusiasm and how excited you are about what you do. Why don't you go share it with them? He went, okay. He walked in, he goes, let me tell you guys what it is that I do. And we walked out of there and they got all excited with him. And I said, he goes, let's go do another one.
I love that. I'm
He
putting that.
was, at first it was like, oh my God, you're going to make me cold call. But I said, if you make it be fun for you and then show it how it's fun for them, this is right up your alley. The guy became one of my top sales agents. He
Mm,
would tell people, hey, don't worry about the fear of it all. It's going to be fun. Let's cold call. And they were like, this guy must be on drugs or something. He thinks cold calling is fun. He got into the mindset, I get to go out and meet 30 brand new business leaders today. How fun is that? Versus like, oh my God, I got to cold call 30 new businesses. And what if they say no? His business went nuts because of how he utilized his personality instead of running from the pain. The type 8, the challenger, the leader, the maverick, the commander, they're the strongest of them all, if you will. You can tell they're more dominant. Sometimes, now here's the thing, when they're consciously aware, they are a noble leader that you would follow off the edge of a cliff. It's like, I stand behind their principles, they're aware. And when they're not aware and having that much strength and power, they come across as a bully, as a dictator. This is what you must do. They want you, they're the natural leader. They almost threaten you to follow them versus inspire you to follow them.
mm.
There's a big difference.
I think of Mike Tyson here. Is that true?
Mike Tyson is a type 8. Fearless. I
Hmm.
mean, think about Iron Mike when he was in his younger days. Guys would come out with the hood and the robe on, with their name on the back of the robe. And Mike Tyson would come out with no robe, just his shorts and his gloves on, and a pair of shoes with no socks. Mike wasn't coming out for all the hoopla. He was coming out to dominate you. And that's exactly what he did. You think about another leader, it's a type 8, Martin Luther King Jr. We want to do things my way, nonviolent. Well, march, get behind me.
Mm.
See, that was noble lead. There are other people out there that lead that will almost dictate or bully you to where you have to follow them or they will annihilate you lead.
Hmm.
So the thing with a challenger is that they just need to understand when they show up that they're already that powerful. So a type 8 almost needs to soften their voice a little bit. If they come across real deep and powerful, they're already kind of like, wow. It's but now how do they draw you in? That's that strength. They look for the strength in people. And if you show them your strength, I had a leader that was one of my best mentors, was a type 8. And until you kind of stood up to him, but not, don't stand up to like want to like take him out, but until you stood up, he'd push you and he'd push you. In the 1 minute that I stood up one time and I said, you know what? I'm just not going to take this anymore. If I got to decide between this career and something else, then I'm out. And I thought, oh my God, what did I just say? He totally respected that. And
Hmm.
he never bothered me again. He went on to the next person that needed to get stronger. I loved it. He was an amazing leader. He knew how to keep your foot on the accelerator and then when to let it up. The type 9 is the peacemaker, the mediator. They want to avoid conflict. They want harmony. They're into union. If you're in a relationship with a type 9 and you're having a difficult conversation, assure them that no matter what the conversation is, that the union in who we are together is not going to change. So let's work through this conversation. Oh, now they can relax, because if they think the conversation could lead to separation, oh my God,
Wow.
that's stressful out of the gate. But if you assure them of union, if I'm doing business with a type 9, and by the way, the type 9 can communicate with all the other personalities better than anybody else because they're the harmonizer. They just flow with it. But the type 9 also, when they're unconscious, will not make a decision. and will look like a procrastinator from the word go. See, the type 9, I'll give you an example, is a buddy of mine wanted to go to lunch. I said, where do you want to go? He goes, oh, you pick, man. Like, no calls, no waves. I picked a place and he complained about the food. I went, well, that was harsh. So a couple weeks later, he wanted to go to lunch. I said, where do you want to go? He goes, I don't care. You pick. I said, tell me 2 different kind of foods you're interested in today. And I picked a restaurant like that. He said, man, this place is the bomb. It's awesome. See, the 9, I just needed to engage them in the process because they're not going to have any conflict. If I say, we're going to go have Mexican food, and they said, well, okay, what if they wanted Italian food? What if they just wanted a sandwich? They would go have what I had to not mess up the harmony. But then I'm not really helping that relationship. I'm not helping the connection be strong. So I want to say, so tell me a couple of things that you might like to do. Oh my God, either this or that. And if I pick one of those, I'm having a good time. I like what we're eating, and so are they. So the key is really understanding the personalities. So if you look at people communicate relative to their own personality. For example, before I learned this as a type 2 helper, I just assumed everybody would understand what I was saying, and why wouldn't they? I made it clear. I'm not speaking their language. I made it clear for another helper. And I went, wow, if I can then speak that person's language, right?
Oh, it's so
It,
powerful.
it's
This is
incredible.
amazing. And I have people that are wanting to know how they can take the Enneagram quiz. And I don't know if you have anything you'd like to offer, but I have a question here from someone. How do you connect with all of the types when you're talking about leading a large group?
Great question. In fact, I was honored to be a speaker at the Hispanic Women's Corporation for 3 consecutive years. And the last time I was there, I thought, I'm going to try something new because here I had like a 2-page handout, like a front and a back. I had 45 minutes and there were at least 600 people in the room. Well, how in the heck do you connect with 600 people in 45 minutes that you've never met? So I looked at this diagram that Marisa has on the screen right now. And if you pick out a buzzword of each one of these, and here's the analogy I want you to think of. I was at a mall a couple years ago and somebody yelled, Stephen. And I quickly turned around. And then I stopped and I looked, and there were about 3 other guys that turned around too. What is the most popular word in our vocabulary? It's our name. If Marisa's walking down the street and somebody yells Marisa, try not to turn around. It's not going to happen. So think about what that person's question was, is how do you address a larger group? I like to make, Jim Rohn, by the way, was one of my favorite philosophers. I got a chance to know him in a network marketing group years ago, but loved what he taught. He taught philosophy. He didn't teach sales or economics. He taught philosophy. And so I love that part of it. And so when I look at how do I connect with people, I call it a Jim Rohnism. And I tell you, every time I get up on stage, I share it. Whether people have heard it or not, it still is effective. And this is what Jim said. So imagine me on stage in front of 600 people that I just never met, and I just walk right up. So they look at me, walk on the stage. I'm at the podium. I got a suit on, and they're like, okay, who's this guy? And I say, before I get started today on the handout that you got on the way in the door, I want to share a philosophy with you of one of my favorites. His name was Jim Rohn. And Jim taught me this. He said, when you spend $1, you can make another dollar. But when you spend your time, you can't get that time back. So before I get started, may I thank you for your time? And I heard people go, oh, did I connect with a few people with that? A little bit.
Mm-hmm.
Because I didn't just jump out there and make it about me. Never make it about you or tell people this is what we're going to do today and this is what I got going. That's boring already. It's a personal commercial. And so watch now how to answer that person's questions. In 60 seconds, I'm going to use a buzzword in this diagram on the screen and touch everybody. So after I use that Jim Rohnism, I said, okay, you got your hand out right now. So today is the perfect time to look at this information I'm going to share with you, because it's going to be able to help you achieve things in your life that you've felt deeply about in the past. It's going to clarify your thinking, give you a sense of loyalty like you've never had before, raise your level of enthusiasm, give you absolute control of your destiny. And at the end of the day, you're going to have peace and harmony. Is everybody with me? The place went nuts. It was like a rock concert.
That's awesome.
I said, today is the perfect time. Help, to achieve, to feel, to process a thought, to feel safe about, to be excited, to take control and to have peace and harmony. They had no, see, I'm speaking to everybody in the audience. And I learned that philosophy years ago. I was asked to do the invocation. It was an annual event. It was a prayer for the United Latino Business Coalition. And I don't speak Spanish. I can't even do it a little bit. I thought, wow, what an honor to do a prayer. But I knew that the organization had multiple different types of spirituality and people that were involved in this event. So when I saw this event and what was going on, I thought, I need to address everybody here. And so my response to them was, I said, Dear Heavenly Father, divine mother, and saints of all religions. I had people coming up to me afterwards of all ethnicities saying, thank you for saying a prayer that included all of us. Mm-hmm. Wow. They didn't just get up and come out of the Bible or come out of something that was Hindu or Buddhist. It was like, it covered everybody in one little phrase. It's about connecting. If you don't connect, you're not going to be able to communicate. They're just going to listen to you talk until you're done.
Well, you are a master connector, and I'm so blessed to have connected with you, by the way. And for people that are interested in taking an Enneagram test and learning more, can you give us some information, please?
Yes. In fact, where's the chat box on here? There it is.
Well, you won't see it on your Zoom because I fed it through Zoom, but we can put
okay.
afterwards. We can go into the comments.
Awesome. So there's multiple links that you can take this Enneagram assessment, but there's one in particular that I used to use, and that one kind of went away. So there's one I send out to kind of keep things consistent. So if you send me an email, I will send you that link.
And what's email, Stephen? I'm putting it in the comments now.
It's SECONNOR. So it's my first two initials, S as in Stephen, E as in Eric, my last name, Connor, 77 at Gmail.
And what does the 77 mean?
That's the year I graduated.
Okay.
From high school.
This guy was a national collegiate athlete, by the way, and he's got some books out. And he's just amazing. I would say follow him on Facebook and Instagram, seconnor77@gmail.com. I just put that in there. And then
for people, let me add this too. So if you put that, so if you send me an email, please put on there that this was for Marissa's Wellness Wednesday.
Right. Perfect.
If I say Marissa's Wellness Wednesday, I'll know.
I know everybody's Marissa, but it's Marissa. Yeah, I know.
It's Marissa. I was looking at my notes, and my brain was not really present. I was reading.
That's okay.
But I said it right all the other times.
Yes, you did. Thank you so much for being here. And we can also get that link and put it in the chat, but definitely reach out to Stephen. Improving your relationships and communication, it's intelligence. It's really about being intelligent and how to show up in the world and how to care about people, truly thinking about others and not what we need to accomplish. And truly, bottom line is being a better listener. And that is a skill set in its own. And think of just how many times people start communicating and then you want to jump in and say whatever you want to jump in, right? So it's just what happens. Yes. And
we just take turns talking, doing that.
Yeah, just pause and think about who is that person in front of me and what is their personality. And there's books on it. This is beautiful. It's brilliant. I just have one quick question about it. Mm-hmm. I know it's thousands and thousands of years old, prior, 400 BC, but Who created it?
The research I've done, it went back into, it goes back to the Babylonian time. And it also goes back, I've seen roots that go back to the Sufi tribe, where only the masters had access to the information.
Wow.
And so it was, see, what I like about what this is, everything else you can possibly do is behavioral driven. Emotional intelligence, everything out there is all behavioral. DISC, Myers-Briggs, there was no behavioral assessments back 2000 plus years before Christ. This was more spiritual. It's kind of more in your DNA, how you show up. I can look back on my life now based on my studies, and I can see I was a helper as a little kid.
Mm-hmm.
You know, a lot of times a helper, when they're not aware, will take everything personal. I used to take everything personal. I used to get hurt when people wouldn't let me help.
Yeah,
So,
it's what we're born with. And
it's what we're
when
born
you
with.
do take this test, by the way, I just want to, it's a 10-minute quiz. And when Stephen had me take it the first time, I failed it. How do you fail a test?
Well, see, here's the thing is that when you take, and I don't even like to call it a quiz or a test, all you know, that's what they refer to it as, but there's no way you can really fail it. It's just you either in your head. Now, here's an analogy for you. Mental is the head, emotional is the heart. Starts with an M, starts with an E. M-E is me. If I just go in with my head, I just went in with I didn't go with me. So I want to come with both. So when you look at this assessment, clear your thoughts. Don't look at anything you've ever done in the past. Be incredibly present and say, based on what these questions are asking me, it's going to give you a choice of two answers. If they both apply, if I had to choose, which one would I pick? If neither apply, but I still had to choose, which one would I pick?
Right.
Don't skip one, but don't answer it with your head by trying to outsmart it. I did that several times.
Yeah, that's what I was
And then
trying
I
to do the first time.
because we've taken so many of these things in our lifetime, it's like, what's this one telling me? And so come from the inside. Your heart right now is the most amazing thing in your body. It's the only organ that has movement when we're sitting still. It has a thump, 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 thump. If your head did that, that's a headache. So follow your heart. Here's an acronym for faith. Have the faith in yourself. FAITH is finding answers in the heart. The answers are not up here. The answers are in the heart. I just want this to make sense of the answers.
Stephen, thank you so much. This was so wonderful. I know we went a little longer today, but I just think this is so powerful, and I'm going to listen to the replay. And I would say, friends out there, that if you're on this, share this. People need to know this information. We need to communicate better than we are doing right now, period, in the world today, especially now with everything going on and people being very judgmental and intolerant. This can kind of bring you back to your roots of who you really are, because we're all really special and everybody is unique and everybody has a story and everybody has a heart. And so, the more we can shine and really connect and be understanding of others, we're going to have a better world for sure. So, Stephen, thank you so much.
Thank you. And everybody have a wonderful day.